like, oh! Rage at a legend. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Business Blaze with your boy with the blaze. That's me, and also Danny and Sam, who are not here. You never see their faces. They are men of mystery. Danny writes this script. I'm gonna read it. Sam's gonna add some memes. He calls himself video editor. I'm like, Sam, it's memes.
You all know exactly who I am. Say my name.
Maybe even vintage meme specialist.
You're goddamn right.
But just before we get into the main section of today's video, this video is brought to you by the legends over at Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and what? Analytics. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Check out Squarespace through the link in the description below. More about them in just a bit. This is Corporate Darwin Awards Part 3, Secret Whispers and Short Circuits. Danny, we use a project management thing to like organize everything, otherwise it gets really messy. Everything I used to be organized in spreadsheets and email, and it just became really complicated. So now we use like a real business, like a project management system. It's like, ooh, la-di-da. And Danny wrote in there, he left me a comment being like, Cyber, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel for these now. So let's hope they're entertaining. Danny didn't set a very high bar for this, and I'm passing that low bar onto you. I hope that nobody minds too much if we bend the rules a little for this third and quite possible final entry into the Corporate Darwin Award series. Is that because we've run out of ideas, Danny? Is this why it's the last one? But if this does well, you know, if it gets millions of views, I'll be like, Danny, please. Please find more in the bottom of that barrel. I need more views because I need more money. I'm a corporate sellout, Danny. You must facilitate this. Capital is big. The problem is, after you've covered Gerald Ratner dismissing his entire product range as cheap, worthless crap and destroying his business empire with the ease of about 10 seconds, within the space of about 10 seconds, there aren't too many other examples of a major company crumbling to dust in the wake of one simple and reckless mistake. Colonel Sanders never sent KFC to the slaughterhouse by joking that his secret recipe included radiation-infected seagull mullet. Whoa, Danny, we're not implying that it actually contains that. I mean, let's just throw in an allegedly. In my opinion, they don't even have that. This is just a lie. It's just a lie. KFC is the finest food ever created. I do love KFC. I recently heard KFC sponsor a podcast. And I don't, you know, generally, I mean, Skillshare, I love you, but like when we think of the pantheon of corporate greats, you know, Coca-Cola, KFC, PepsiCo, all of those other giant ones, I mean, the like trillion-dollar companies, I don't know, they're not worth $1 trillion, are they? Because isn't Apple just worth? But look, if KFC want to get on board with some Business Blaze sponsorship, I will gorge myself on that product on screen. Look, you know I can do it, KFC. Get on board. Ronald McDonald never gave a candid interview to Oprah in which he admitted that he can't f***ing stand kids. Wait, I thought I saw... No, of course I didn't. Of course, Ronald McDonald is not real. As you might expect in the complicated arena of business, there are usually several different factors to blame for the collapse of a once successful company, and perhaps not all of them could be put down to avoidable stupidity. Yeah, I'd say it's a very rare example, and that's probably why we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. But it's still quite interesting to focus on some of the stranger decisions which at the very least helped contribute to the downfall. To be fair, in the case of Borders, and by the way, consider this one to be an end of short intro alert, it's perfectly understandable that an established brick and mortar... Oh wait, so that's the end of the intro? Danny, I'm confused. That we've had so much complexity around introductions lately, like should they be long, should they be short? And I said, Danny, can they be short? And they wrote me like 2 lines, and I was like, Danny, be sensible, man! We've got a very serious business to run. It's perfectly understandable that an established brick and mortar book retailer might have found it a struggle to get through the digital age in one piece. Yeah, you got destroyed by Jeff Bezos at Amazon. Absolutely. And deservedly so. I mean, people are like, oh, I miss Borders. Yeah. But then you go and shop on Amazon. It's like Amazon, you know, we're all like, oh, they don't treat their workers fair. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and I agree with this statement, but you know what? I don't really shop on Amazon because it's kind of a hassle here where I live. But if I was in the UK, look, everyone in the UK shops on Amazon. It's like, but their warehouse workers are starving, allegedly. And then it's like, oh yeah, but I can get that salt and pepper set that is a lot cheaper on Amazon than it is in John Lewis. So you know what you do. So stop being a hypocrite. As much as I would miss the wonderful, welcoming smell of bookshops, I'm not very likely to hike into town and pay over the odds for the latest thrilling title from Jeremy Clarkson when I can either order it from Amazon at half the price without even having to bother getting dressed, or just download it for my Kindle. I can always find time to smell my own book collection later in the evening. Borders fell to the power of the... Yeah, I mean, I used to love going into bookstores. And I wasn't Borders. There was a giant bookstore in the UK, which obviously doesn't exist anymore because why would it? And you can go in and read the books. No one's pissed off. Like, they even had chairs for reading, so you can like really, and there's magazines and stuff, and it's just like you can hang out there for ages. And no one minds, and then maybe purchase. This is why they went out of business, because you know what you can't do on Amazon? Fucking browse the books. You know what you can't do? Buy them. Because we're running a business. And that is why Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world, and I can't remember the name of the giant bookstore that I used to go to. Maybe it was a Borders. Did we have Borders in the UK? It was out by Lakeside, Kent people, or maybe Essex people. Was this in Essex? Is Essex next to Kent? There's a big Lakeside where there's a Costco. There's a shop. Why? This is way too niche and geography specific. It's like when you listen to a podcast and it's set in like Los Angeles or whatever. People are like, oh yeah, I'm taking the 405 to work today. And it's like, no one understands outside of Los Angeles what you're going on about. No one else suffers from traffic quite like you do. And no one knows what the 405 is like of motorways I know. It's like the M6, because I used to drive on it all the time. Or maybe that was the M4. And the 405 that apparently runs through Los Angeles are the like highways I know in the world. And Route 66, but that doesn't exist anymore. What are we talking about? Get back to the point, fact boy. Borders fell to the power of the internet in 2011 after a triumphant history of book selling that spanned almost 40 years. And Borders were massive, all italics massive, with hundreds and hundreds of stores scattered around the world, even if mostly only in the United States. Considering that the mighty Barnes & Noble still seem to be doing all right today under challenging circumstances, what went wrong with their giant and competitor? Barnes & Noble is still around? Really? Jeff! Get on it, son! First established in Ann Arbor, Michigan in 1971 by two university graduate brothers, Lewis and Tom Borders. The company took pride in running shops for devoted bookworms, which are actually staffed by equally devoted bookworms. You are unlikely to come across a grunting monosyllabic. Why is that word so hard to say? You know what I mean. Employee watching the clock until his next cigarette break. Everyone who worked in Borders knew their shit. Wait, are we talking about Barnes & Noble or Borders? Are Barnes & Noble the same company as Borders? Danny! It's very confusing when you get the names confused. Or am I confused? I could be confused. One time I was like, Danny, this doesn't make sense. And he's like, Simon, it's because you skipped an entire paragraph. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like, oh no, I did. Sorry, Danny. Please don't hurt me. And whether you are seeking a copy of Fly Fishing by J.R. Hartley, Mwah! Odyssey of a Cockroach by Yoko Ono, Mwah! Or Don't Hassle the Hoff, the autobiography, that actually sounds like an autobiography from David Hasselhoff. Is that real? I can't imagine the others are. Odyssey of a Cockroach is not real. Odyssey of a... Oh god, it autofills. It autofills. Oh god, it's real. It's actually real. Why, Yoko? Why? The 20th century was a century in which this is the synopsis or whatever, the Amazon description. Amazon, why doesn't the page load properly? You're Amazon. Why is this image cutting off the title and under the stars? I'm literally using the most popular website in the world on the most popular tablet in the world. Get your together. The 20th century, why are you not out of business? I think Borders is going to make a comeback with like this.
Daddy, chill.
The 20th century was a century in which human experiments in cruelty reached its height. I've decided to something, because I can't read it, a cockroach for a day to see what's happening through its eyes. Oh, Yoko. These words from Yoko Ono, groundbreaking visionary in the art world for over 50 years. Groundbreaking visionary are not two words that I would use to describe Yoko Ono. This elegant catalogue with more than 40 colour reproductions of the Nobody buy this book! I might purchase this book as a joke, and then take a on it on screen, and then burn that on book.
Daddy, chill.
Okay, let's move on. The staff would happily point you in the right direction. Unless it was Yoko Ono. If I worked there, I'd be like, well, you see that thing that says break glass in case of emergency with a gun behind it. This is said emergency, and I'm going to break said glass. Jesus Christ. However, after 2 decades of ever-growing success, the story took an unwelcome twist when Kmart bought out the company in 1992 and spent the next few crucial years, pretending that the internet didn't exist. Yes, because when you have problems Amazon competitors. Just ignore them. Just ignore them and they'll go away. You better watch out, Business Insider. I'm not going away and I'm coming for you. Be afraid! Not that my content really has anything to do with business or is in any way a competitor to you, but I'm still coming for you, Business Insider. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Tell your friends, because there's going to be a big party when this channel takes over the subscribers of Business Insider. We're gonna pop some bottles. Amazon launched in 1995 and Barnes & Noble launched their own website in 1997, but Borders left it far too late to join the online party. Losers. Instead, and there's so many books about the internet, they could just go into the technology section. There'll be like for dummies on not getting crushed by Amazon and having your entire company that you spent decades building destroyed by an online behemoth and the power of Jeff Bezos. I mean, the for dummies section goes deep. Instead, they concentrated on building more and more stores and diversifying into the sale of music CDs. These new stores had already lost that original Borders edge as they descended into a far more ordinary shopping experience populated by staff who wouldn't know their Harold brothers, Harold Robbins from their Harry Potter. Why is Harold Robbins? No one cares. After making a bit of a hash of their belated attempt to grow an online presence, Borders then made a baffling decision in 2001, which would help construct their premature final chapter. They entered a marketing alliance with Amazon, which effectively outsourced everything to Jeff Bezos and his buddies. This is so good. Like, I mean, Amazon's business model is absolutely devastating, and they still do this today because on Amazon, right? I watched a YouTube video about this. It's like you can, if you want to sell, like you can sell something on Amazon, you know, but when you buy from like a third-party seller or whatever, and Amazon ships it all, it's like these dudes, they'll buy some from China, they'll ship it off to Amazon, and then Amazon will ship it out to like the customers and stuff. And it's like you are just doing Amazon's work for them, because sure, you'll make a bit of money, but if you make a bit of money, Amazon are going to know it because they've got all the data and more that you have, and then Amazon are going to be like, well, we're going to start selling that, and then before you know it, there's an Amazon's Basics version of what you're selling. You've been destroyed and you've done all the work for Amazon, and they probably made you a fair bit of money. I mean, if it's being successful, so good for you, but that is not a sustainable business model, and Amazon and Jeff are going to come with their weapons and destroy you like they destroy everything, allegedly, and then build an amazing online platform which we all use and love, despite everything we say about them. So if you visited any Borders website anytime between 2001 and 2008, you actually completed the purchases via Amazon. This is not gonna go well for you boys. This was seen by critics as pretty much just giving up on the internet and relinquishing control to Amazon, who were able to capitalize on the alliance by using it as a massive customer harvesting vehicle from themselves. Yeah, for themselves, because it's Amazon. You don't have any customers. You don't. Amazon does. And they just happen to be kind enough to send you some money for a while, and then they won't. And in the meantime, Borders just opens up more and more physical stores. Loads of them. At the same exact time that brick-and-mortar stores were losing at an alarming rate to e-commerce, Borders was just happily keeping on building. They even opened up 4 massive stores in San Francisco, which were all only about a mile apart from each other, and then began to wonder why they weren't all heaving with customers. In comparison, what? There's too many, and they're all online. They're all like, wait, we can get this on Borders.com. Wait, is that Amazon? Let's just shop at Amazon. And that is how history played out. Now, obviously, I'm sounding like a right big brain, like being like, oh yeah, well, of course. Didn't you see this? And it's like, well, at the time, probably not. Probably not, to be fair. Jeff Bezos did. And again, that's why he is the richest man in the goddamn world. He sees things that other people don't see. I think Elon Musk might actually be the richest man in the world. But isn't that just because Tesla's share price is massively overinflated, allegedly? Didn't Elon Musk even himself say that Tesla's share price seems too high on Twitter? Allegedly, I don't know if that's true. My computer's just like, you're running out of disk space. Do you want to delete Windows? And I'm like, what? And then I read it properly. It says a previous version of Windows. And I'm like, what's going on? Why would I have a previous version of Windows? Why can't you just work like a Mac?
We don't do that here.
You know what my Mac never asks me? Would you like to delete your operating system? No, and I don't know. And it's like, you can't take this back. And I'm like, well, tell me if it's okay or not, Windows. Why do I have to make these decisions? You click it, yeah, delete. And then it's like blue screen of death and you can never access your computer again. It's like, brilliant, thanks. This is gonna take like 4 days to fix, which I don't have because I'm a little bit busy making 1,000 videos a day. Jesus Christ. In comparison, Barnes & Noble just focused on one store in the same city which was still doing brisk business. It's perhaps no surprise that Borders were late to the e-reader party too. Amazon launched the Kindle in 2007, while Barnes & Noble released the Nook in 2009. But Jesus Christ, is this really already like 14, 15 years old? Christ! By the time Borders launched the Kobo in 2010, the writing was already on the electronic ink display, Within a year, Borders filed for bankruptcy after posting losses totaling nearly $1 billion over the course of the previous 5 years, and their customer list was ultimately swallowed up by Barnes & Noble. A long string of baffling decisions had ended, with Borders writing themselves into a corner from which they could not escape, and there was no handy airbend to be found on any of the pages in this tragic story. That is an OG Business Blaze callback. Now, just before we continue with today's glorious Blaze, I must tell you about today's glorious sponsor, Squarespace. Now more than ever, what are people doing? They're getting creative with their time. They're locked down, they're like away from work, all of that stuff. They're like, what shall I do? Let me make a political blog to annoy my friends. Don't do that. Make a blog that people actually care about. Do it on Squarespace. But even if you made a political blog, it would be the best looking political blog around because Squarespace has beautiful templates. Or if you want, you can make a store with Squarespace and actually sell things. I actually did this recently. I've no idea at what stage in development it will be because I don't know exactly when this video will come out, but I was like, I talk about making a store a lot on Squarespace, but I've never actually done it because all the t-shirts I sell through Teespring and they do all of that for you. But I wanted to launch, based on a joke in a previous Business Blaze, a perfume for men called Rotting Turtle, which is in progress. And I was like, why don't we sell it through Squarespace? I could make a website and we can tie it all together beautifully. And so I made this website, rottingturtle.com. I don't know if this will actually be live yet. So that's not a guarantee, but making it was insanely easy. You go through, you log into Squarespace, they've got all these beautiful templates, and I think it's like e-commerce or shop or whatever. You click that option and it just filters them by e-commerce ones, like for making a shop online, like electronic commerce. I don't know why I'm explaining this, it's unnecessary. And then you go into that template and then you customize it, you put everything where you want it to be, you set your prices, you integrate your payment stuff. It's extremely easy and it looks beautiful, but Squarespace also has tons of customization options. What do they have? I gotta hit these. What are they? Well, obviously you can change the design as much as you want, but there's also all of these extra stuff that plug in, like email campaigns. So I can be like, yo, you bought Rotting Turtle. Did you like it? Why not leave me a review? Patronage portals, social integration, so I can tell people all over Twitter about the glory that is my product, Rotting Turtle. Member-only areas, analytics, commercial options, 24/7 customer support. It's everything you could ever want, all in one place. So when you're ready to get started on that next project of yours, be it a blog, be it a shop, be it something else on the web, Squarespace is absolutely the right place to do it. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, just go to squarespace.com/blaze, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. That's what I did. That's what you should do. Squarespace, I love it. And let's get back to the video. Yik yak. I generally try and stay away from social media after I've downed a couple of bottles of wine produced from the basement vineyard. Daddy!
Those are illegal!
When I'm stone cold sober, rarely, Danny, if we're honest, rarely, I usually find it easy enough to quickly scroll through all the meaningless shite in the hope that I might find a post that makes me smile or think. But all of the political rants and judgments and boasting and complaining and proud parent photographs just seem that little bit more irksome after I've had a drink. Preach, Danny. Every now and then I get gripped by an all-consuming urge to just write and copy the sentence, "Oh, please do f off, you utterly boring wanker," and then paste it into the comments of every single post on my screen just to see what reaction I'd get. Danny, it's probably going to be a mix of people being like, LOL, and being like, are you alright, mate? Of course, that would be a cruel and terrible idea, particularly if I end up pasting it underneath an old post of a friend who's tearfully announced that his grandma just got run over by a double-decker bus. Oh god, does that mega cringe. This was like an OG Facebook meme where it was like, do you remember when, I don't know if you still have it, but it has like, you used to have like relationship status, and it would be like, you know, single, married, it's complicated, in a relationship with, and then you'd have your girlfriend or boyfriend tagged in the thing with you. And then there was this brilliant meme where it was like, so-and-so is no longer in a relationship with so-and-so. And someone just comments, some dude comments underneath being like, oh really? How about I drop you a message sometime? And then someone else comments, he was just killed in a car accident. I was like, oh! Great, but horrible. And I'm sure I'd regret it the next morning. But maybe it wouldn't be as bad if nobody knew it was me that posted it. If there's no handle or profile attached to the comment, there are zero consequences. Oh my god, tell me about it. Like people on the internet, when they're behind their like keyboards, it's like, oh, you big man, you big man. Someone once sent me a message. They wanted to remove my face and feed it to me. I'm like, fucking hell, mate. Please don't. In the early 2010s saw the development of a flood of new social media apps, such as Secret and Whisper, which were based on this idea of complete anonymity. That sounds like a brilliant idea for society. Another such app was Yik Yak, launched in 2013 by Tyler Droll and Brooks Buffington. Brooks Buffington sounds like a stereotypical rich man's name. It's like, who are you? I'm Brooks Buffington III. Two students from Furman University in South Carolina. Yik Yak was a proximity-based anonymous app which allowed users within a 5-mile radius to post and view messages without ever having to reveal the identity of anyone within the closed circle of the radius. This is actually pretty clever, but also, oh god, this is going to be horrific. The idea really took off in colleges and university campuses of the state, where students could discreetly share gossip, reveal secrets, post shout-outs to his family, and exchange insults and make comments about very local situations and sites. It's no secret that Yik Yak was considered to be the talk of the town. The young co-founders managed to raise over $73 million in venture capital funding. Baller! By the following year, the app had been downloaded 1.8 million times. It is incredible, though, that it's got that much funding and it's only been downloaded 1.8 million times. I know. VC. Weirder. At one point, the Yik Yak company was valued around $400 million. But it's not hard to figure out the potential pitfalls of an anonymous app. It's clearly going to develop into a breeding ground for vulgar, offensive, and hateful posts from people who feel invincible from the cloak of anonymity. It could also be good for like drug dealers. I mean, super local anonymous information. It's pretty good. I mean, this could be a great boon for drug dealing. Imagine scrolling through the feed while taking a quick snack in a crowded area of campus and discovering that you've been personally named in an explicit or viciously insulting post of someone nearby who's observing you. That's bound to feel a bit creepy and put you right off your pot noodle. Taking this several steps further, the app could be used for aggressive messages, racist abuse, or even death threats. 3 schools were evacuated after fake bomb threats were posted on Yik Yak, while the app has also been cited in numerous court cases relating to threats of violence and cyber harassment. It's like, how could we have ever predicted this? It wasn't all bad news. A study at MIT Media Lab found that anonymous platforms contained only 1% more profanity than Twitter. Yeah, but I mean, look, if we're setting high bars of like social situation standards, it'd be like, you know, posh person's dinner party or something before people are cracking out the booze, like very polite conversation up here. And then somewhere about 400 feet below me, you have the bar that is set for Twitter, the arsehole of the internet, allegedly. While fans of the app argued criticisms of Yik Yak were overblown, and it often played a positive role on campus, facilitating a great deal of drug act, not really. Most notably, it actually helped to prevent a suicide at the College of William and Mary in 2015. But it's difficult to see exactly what Yik Yak could do from here. Maybe the very idea of anonymous social media is doomed to fail. Wait, anonymous social media is just go onto Twitter and be like, what's your email address? johnsmith@mailinator.com. Problem solved, anonymous Twitter. It's not like they're, well, you need to send us like a copy of your passport and 3 bank statements. Or maybe they just needed to work harder on monitoring and message filtering and dealing with the rogues who were abusing the platform. Instead, Yik Yak implemented a new geofencing strategy which disabled the app in most middle and high schools in the United States. They then dropped the anonymous angle, making it compulsory to create a profile and handle.
What the hell is even that?
Oh, well, you've just... what's the point now? In other words, they made it impossible to use Yik Yak in the only areas where people were bothering to use it, and then dropped the only distinctive selling point. Just a couple of years after that evaluation of $400 million, Yik Yak was sold to the mobile payment company Square Inc. for just $1 million before disappearing into complete anonymity. Circuit City. Back when I worked at Global Video, I found the most challenging part of the job was dealing with the fury of late fees. Some customers were outraged to discover they'd been charged an extra £1 because they returned the movie about 3 minutes late. And although they'd give me all the sob stories about getting stuck in traffic or accidentally slicing off their thumb with a kitchen knife, there wasn't anything I could do about it. Of course there's not. And it's like, it's basic. It's in the system. It doesn't matter if it's a minute late or 3 days. Well, I'm sure the fine is going to be more, but it's like, it's past the time.
Sorry, I'm late. What happened? Nothing. I just really didn't want to come.
People who make excuses for why they're late, and then it's like, oh yeah, I was making coffee. or there was traffic. It's like, that is not an excuse. There's not an excuse. The number of times I've been late to important shit is basically zero, because it's like, oh, I've got a job interview at a really important company where I'd like to get that job. I will arrive like 3 hours early and just sit outside and be like, there is no way I'm arriving late. I remember I went to a job interview at some very fancy ass company, and some dude like rocks up like late and scruffy, and I'm like, dude, it literally looked like it's thrown on his suit after like having an all-night binge. And I'm like, either you have like some turbo, you know, you've volunteered for like everything and have like a starred first from Oxford or something. But even still, it's like being late is not gonna look good, son. How did we get here? What are we talking about? The system wouldn't let them rent another film until the late fee was put in the till, and although it's sometimes tempting just for me to avoid the hassle by shoving in £1 from my own pocket, I lost half my wages if I made a habit of doing that every night. Yeah, I remember I've been working for minimum wage, like when I was a kid and stuff, and it'd be like, £1, it's like, bro, I'm making £4.50 an hour. It's like, I would be like, I'm taking a break, you know, you get like half an hour break in the day or whatever. And it would be like, yeah, I could get something from the bakery section, but it's like 50p. And that's like 10 minutes work or like 8 minutes work or whatever. And I'm just like, the really depressing thing is, it's not worth it. I would like look at the chocolate bars and be like, well, okay, this Snickers bar is 100 grams and the Mars bar's 93. Well, I'm gonna go for the Snickers bar. And it was weird how the fine just kept ticking up every day until it reached ridiculous proportions. One guy brought back a copy of the original Blair Witch Project several months too late, and the system told me to charge the guy £486 in additional fees. He probably could have made the film himself at that price, legit. I think he closed his account and took his custom to the out-of-town Blockbuster. Yeah. But during the late 1990s, the US electronics superstore Circuit City launched an ambitious plan to shake up the video rental industry and abolish the concept of late fees altogether. In partnership with the law firm, Jesus Christ, Zifrin, Brittingham, Branca, and Fisher, Circuit City launched the new DivX format in 1998. I should mention straight away that this has nothing to do with the brand of video codec products that stole and later trademarked the same name several years later. Yeah, I know DivX. I mean, allegedly, definitely not, from a long history of piracy. Absolutely not. The original DivX wasn't a million miles away from the then emerging DVD format, but the twist was that you didn't just rent the new DVD discs and then take them back to Blockbuster a couple of days later. You actually bought the disc for around $4.50, but it would only be watchable for 48 hours after the initial viewing. Once this ticking time limit expired, the disc would self-destruct, or at least it would become useless and destined only for the bin.
My scanners sensed it. Just let it go.
I saw a video, I think it was from Technology Connections, and he bought one of these discs that hadn't been opened and explained how it worked. It was brilliant. Check out that channel. You need to buy a separate DivX player to buy into this new movie rental revolution, as the discs use triple DS encryption as an alternative channel modulation coding scheme that wouldn't work on a standard player. Wait, maybe this was something else. The one on Technology Connections, it was like a DVD that you'd buy, like a rental, and it would be in a plastic case. You'd open it, you could play it for a couple of days, but after a couple of days the back had oxidized, so it wouldn't work anymore. But this sounds different. The new DivX player plugged into your phone line, and this is how the current status of your disc was monitored. Okay, so this is, I mean, the oxidizing thing is obviously different, but a lot cooler, and this sounds super expensive and like a massive hassle.
Future's now, old man.
In some ways, you can see how the idea of renting a new movie without having to worry about making the return trip in time might sound quite appealing, but it seems that nobody at Blockbuster was going to lose any sleep over this. For starters, the initial cost of the new DivX players was $499. About twice the price of a standard DVD player at the time. Good lord. DVD players used to be $250. That's insane. For your money, you got lumbered with a device which required regular access to your telephone line, and this was a problem back in the days when early adopters of the internet were already juggling the use of the telephone with their modems. Oh, the brilliant days of the past. The discs themselves are of an inferior quality than a standard DVD, and there was no capacity to include the special features and audio commentaries that you'd expect to find on a typical new DVD rental. And although you could top your disc viewing loading time by shelling out more money through your DivX account to temporarily postpone the self-destruction of the disc. This seemed like a long-winded approach to enjoying long-term value from a rental. I mean, you could just buy the damn DVD if you were that bothered about it. No, I get it. It's like, you're like, oh yeah, well I've got this one, let's just extend it for one more night because we missed it last night, and then you pay the extra $2 or whatever. No, I get that. That's actually quite smart. I disagree, Danny.
What?
The DivX format was officially discontinued a year later, instantly rendering every single DivX player and disc on the planet utterly worthless. They better give you your goddamn money back. That was $500 goddamn dollars in the 90s. That's more today. And this misfire from Circuit City ended up losing the company about $337 million. Savage. But this still wasn't the final nail in the coffin for Circuit City. Oh no! Originally founded by Samuel Wurzel in 1949 as the Ward's Company, this business from Richmond, Virginia evolved into Circuit City in 1981. It became the one-stop high-tech superstore from which to buy your TVs and boomboxes and Mattel Electronic Simon games. What's the Mattel Electronic Simon game? Danny, these references I don't get. I'm sorry, Danny. At one point, Circuit City was raking in revenues of $12 billion from over 1,500 stores scattered across North America. By the turn of the millennium, Circuit City was losing ground to competitors such as Best Buy, quite literally in many ways, as Best Buy was snapping up all the prime real estate and pouring fresh investment into them, while in comparison, Circuit City's out-of-town stores were beginning to look increasingly outdated. Yeah, going into an outdated electronics store is not something you want. You don't want your store to look like it's from the past because you're there to buy modern shit. Like, if you walk in, it's like, why are the CTR box, what are they called? God, I don't even remember the name. The big boxy monitors, cathode ray tubes, CRTs. You don't want to see those when you walk into like a Dixon's, which is like, or does Dixon's even exist anymore? It's like UK Best Buy. It does exist, because I see it at the airport sometimes. In a bid to reduce costs in 2007, Circuit City decided to get rid of one of their biggest assets, the knowledgeable and experienced staff.
You're fired. You copy that? You're fired. You're fired.
Not a million miles away from the concept of Borders closing the book on staff who knew exactly what they were talking about, Circuit City blew the fuse, on 3,900 of its higher paid staff and replaced them with people who were willing to work on much contracts, allegedly. This must have felt particularly annoying when the very same year the CEO of the company, Philip Schoonover, awarded himself $7 million for driving Circuit City into the earth. Ah, yes, CEO remuneration. Mwah! What have you done? Well, I've made the company extremely bad. How about a massive paycheck and you're fired? But we're firing you, so here's a golden parachute.
You're fired. You're hired.
We'll just throw, you know, a few $100 million your way. No big deal. Well done. The move backfired as the electronics giant continued to lose even more customers to the superior services now provided by the likes of Best Buy and Walmart. By 2009, shortly after posting losses of $239 million in a single quarter, the business entered liquidation. Although the name still exists today, the brands and trademarks have changed hands a couple of times over the last decade, and it's currently owned by area retail veteran Ronnie Schmoll, who oversees a much smaller and largely online operation. But it seems a shame that a company with a 40-year history, which helped spearhead a revolution for consumer electronics superstores, was allowed to fizzle out and die after a couple of poor decisions. Maybe one day somebody will write a book about it, which later gets adapted into a movie. In an ideal world, the book will exclusively be available on several stores of Borders, all squashed together like sardines in a bus crash. While the film will be released on a new variant of DivX, but wow, this is getting deep, which self-destructs about 10 minutes before you settle down to watch it. This has been an episode of Business Blaze with your boy with the Blaze, brought to you, written by Danny, memes added by Sam. Also, if you'd like to get some merch, purchthemerch.co, P-U-R-C-H, not P-E-R-C-H. That's just a rickroll that someone set up. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. Great, but f***ing horrible.